If you haven't seen the previous video in this series, follow the link on your screen or click the link in the description or pinned comment below.
Yet another carrot-eating Peter Jackson cameo.
Wait, where? Where is he, Jeremy? And what is that orange thing he's taking a single bite out of? Because that looks delicious.
I should introduce myself. My name is Gandalf.
Unnecessary flashback is unnecessary.
Bull fucking shit. That man that you pointed out in the very first sin knew ahead of time that you wouldn't get this flashback. Because you sinned the very first film, this flashback is for you and your audience about catching them up to speed from the first film if they had missed it. Also, in the extended edition, Thorin explains that his father might be alive and went there to search for him. I know that it's a minor nitpick since Thrain and the Dwarven Ring that Gandalf mentions is not really explained thoroughly in the film, but still, Jeremy fails again to see why the Battle of Moria flashback is so important.
You are the heir to the throne of Durin.
Man, does anyone in Middle-earth do anything at all without Gandalf putting the idea in their head? Is Middle-earth just Gandalf's personal life-size dollhouse?
Not always. Thranduil gives Legolas the idea to meet with Erebor in the Battle of the Five Armies, and Elrond gives Aragorn the idea to reclaim his crown in Return of the King. So Gandalf doesn't always put ideas into people's heads. Also, there are indeed gods in Middle-earth, it's just that they haven't been really explained in the films yet. Outside of the brief mention of Morgoth, of course.
Beneath the feet of a fire-breathing dragon.
I can't stress enough how much light this conversation sheds on the events we saw in the first film. It's zero.
As I explained in motherfucking Sin 1, Jeremy still doesn't get that it's for the morons that he has created that just so happened to skip the first film because they wanted to see the dragon this time. This man is getting an extra 5 sins from me now for having to explain this shit for a third time.
We're run down by a pack of orcs.
You could maybe try calling the Eagles. I mean, it can't have gotten too far away since they just dropped you off a little bit ago. Here's another reason the books don't matter, when the filmmakers can't insert just one sentence explaining why the Eagles could only take them so far. And that's all it would have taken.
Oh my fucking god, son of a...
Okay, fine, I'm cool, I'm fine.
Fine, you know what? This Sins video has already pissed me off, not even 5 minutes in. I had already explained that in the first Hobbit film, but you know what? I will give you a different answer this time, considering all the comments that are going to try and correct me. Another reason why the Eagles don't help the protagonist is because in the books, they are afraid of men storming them with arrows and killing them. I said they are demigods, not full-on gods. So to Jeremy and his group of very brilliant people that can't read a book every once in a while, I give you these many sins.
He will help us, or he will kill us.
Why does Gandalf waste time acting like the bear beast thing isn't Beorn, the owner of the house they decide to go to in order to seek refuge from the bear beast thing?
Because that would be a waste of time. Seeing how the bear you can hear roaring in the clip he used, their time was better used to run inside to not get killed by Beorn.
You know what would have really helped in this situation? Someone who knows magic.
Even if Gandalf uses magic against Beorn, maybe it doesn't affect Skin Changer, seeing how they have the magical ability to transform. But what I find interesting here is that Jeremy thinks it's a good idea to storm into a random stranger's house, and his first reaction when confronted by them is to shoot them. I can't see nothing wrong about this. Can you?
Oh good, more fleshed out villain characters that either barely appear in the book or aren't in the book at all. Awesome. That probably won't add to the bloat at all.
This is the case of Peter Jackson borking up this trilogy, because once again, in those things you don't read, Bolg is the main orc antagonist of The Hobbit, leads the orc army in the Battle of the Five Armies, and he is the one that was meant to kill Thorin in the end. This is what happened. Peter didn't see that Bolg was in the book, So he copied his achievements to Azog instead, and then only realized that Azog was supposed to be dead during the Battle of Moria, and that Bolg was in the book, so he added him later. So for this sin, I will not give a sin nor take one away, because this was an actual cinema sin.
Also, this bold guy is a discount Azog. He looks exactly like Azog, but with metal in his flesh.
That was the literal point, to make a difference between them so that the audience isn't confused at who is who. Unlike the dwarves.
No, man, I'm off it. Made me blind in one eye.
Jeremy yells at the screen cliche.
This is why we must go through Mirkwood.
The darkness lies upon that forest.
This pretty much should go without saying in Middle-earth by now, right? Is there a forest that doesn't have some sort of darkness lying upon it?
Lothlorien. Next question.
I don't like dwarves. They're greedy.
But I usually save such opinions until I've already been a good host by serving food and drink to them.
Oh boy. Jeremy totally manipulated this scene right here. If you let Beorn finish here...
I don't like dwarves. They're greedy. And blind. Blind to the lives of those they deem lesser than their own. But orcs I hate more. What do you need?
So... when Jeremy does this shit, I'm giving him 13 sins. Because not only does this confuse the fuck out of your viewers, this shit is evil.
Is there no way around?
Not unless we go 200 miles north.
Middle-earth uses miles for distance measurement?
That's because miles is not only a distance of measurement in America, but also in England. And the Lord of the Rings series as a whole was made by a British author. So even if Jackson borked this up, J.R.R. Tolkien is the nail in the coffin. So the sin here is... yes.
We interrupt this unnecessary Hobbit sequel to bring you The Lost World Jurassic Park.
I understood that reference.
Fortunately for Bilbo, the spiders dragged all the dwarves to one place before eating them, making them easier to rescue, because everyone knows spiders prefer to eat family style.
Or it could be that, Jeremy, they were all right next to each other when they got caught by surprise from the spiders off screen.
Nearly every f***ing spider has to go check and see what that noise was.
Cause that noise could have been a potential fucking meal. And even if you're going to say that spiders don't really do that, you can clearly hear the spiders speaking almost unified when they heard it.
It's also fortunate that there are all these layers of spiderweb to catch each of the falling dwarves and ease them to the ground, especially considering the spider that Bilbo just stabbed fell down and hit the ground hard.
Now, keep in mind, I failed physics in high school, so bear with me here on this sin. Now, a ton of spider webs around the spider's feeding site makes sense. It's not only are the webs used to catch prey like a net, but they can feel vibrations on those webs so that they know where their next meal was caught. So for the dwarves, softly falling down makes sense. However, where I have a problem with this sin is that the gigantic-ass spider falls and hits the ground hard instead of the dwarves. Here's where the pain of this science gets me, because Jeremy, the more weight an object has, the faster it's going to go, and the harder it's going to hit the ground. Clearly, the webs have a greater distribution of force that helps in catching the dwarves, but with how the spider died and was pushed out of the way so that Bilbo could get Sting again, the weight and speed of the spider's descent is clearly too much force for the webs, hence them breaking. There, is that good enough? Because that was the most I've had to talk about physics in years.
Oh, come on, that thing fell and bounced and is definitely lost forever. If you're going to say the ring wants to be found because it has a mind of its own, then it shouldn't ever fly out of his control in the first place.
But, I mean, Bilbo was getting rolled around more than Dr. Grant in Jurassic Park 3, so the real scene here would have been the ring not falling out of his fingers at all, considering he was just holding the ring when it happened.
Oh look, Legolas is in this movie. Is Batman in it too? Or 007?
Jeremy makes two pop culture references that aren't a sin of the film cliche.
It's my wee lad, Gimli.
You know, from Lord of the Rings, the popular series of books and movies? We are witnessing the George Lucasification of Peter Jackson with these Hobbit movies. There's no doubt about it.
What's particularly annoying with this sin is that Jeremy clearly knows that there are books out there, but still doesn't actually bother to correct his sins when the books make sense. But still, Jeremy makes another pop culture reference which shouldn't count towards this film set in that same series.
It always is.
Yeah, Underil was reforged by the elves. However, the shards of Narsil, from which it was the original sword, was made by dwarves.
Aren't you going to search me? I could have anything down my trousers.
That's a pickup line I have not tried, but I'm going to now.
And guess what happened when I used that line? I was registered as a sex offender, and so was Jeremy.
Also, why does Legolas give a shit that this dwarf is staring at her? Does he know that this very unlikely elf-dwarf love story is about to happen?
Say it with me, Jeremy. Love triangle. I know that doesn't mean much to you since you still don't understand what Deus Ex Machinas are, but it's a common trope in romances where two guys fall in love for one girl, and so the girl must choose. Clearly, Legolas shows some feelings towards Tauriel, but it really doesn't come across like that since Thranduil shuts down that romance because of her status. Also, you could see the devastation in his face as Tauriel explains the night sky to Keely later on.
Why do you linger in the shadows?
I was coming to report.
Tauriel is hiding from view for no reason so that we could have this manufactured suspense moment.
Because we do know from within the Fellowship of the Ring that the ring wraiths could in fact see Frodo while he had the ring on him, so maybe Thranduil could see him too. Again, it's a hypothetical, but I'm still sending you, Jeremy, because this was a good tension moment in this film.
Unlikely elf-dwarf love story.
But why? Why is it unlikely, Jeremy? I mean, we saw throughout the Lord of the Rings trilogy the unlikely friendship build between Legolas and Gimli, the kindness of Galadriel giving Gimli 3 locks of her golden hair, and heck, in Rings of Power, we see Elrond and Durin IV have a lifelong friendship before the Balrog, of course. So if friendships can be made between the two, why can't it go romantical? Because you don't always have to have sex for a relationship to work, Jer.
I have walked there sometimes. Beyond the forest and up into the night.
Good God, this movie is 2.5 hours, and now we know why.
And this Sins video is 14 minutes long, and now I know why.
These empty barrels should have been sent back to Esgaroth hours ago. The bargemen will be waiting for them.
Bilbo shows up at the exact moment the elves talk about the barrels and where they go, and luckily they were speaking English and not Elvish.
Even if you wanted to say that the guards were speaking Elvish, Bilbo also knows Elvish anyway. So this is more for the benefit of the audience who hates reading subtitles in films. Oh wait, you also send reading in films too. I totally forgot.
Bilbo! What? Shh! There are guards nearby!
Obviously there aren't.
Even if it weren't so, Bilbo still wants everyone to remain quiet as they try to escape. Because the guards downstairs may be drunk, but it's drunk sleeping. So those bastards can easily wake up, considering alcohol doesn't affect elves much in this film series.
Is this the unguarded gate that Bolg was talking about? Because this shit is heavily guarded. In fact, it takes all of them getting distracted by Bilbo and the dwarves in order for the orcs to make an attack. Were the orcs expecting this?
Well, I mean, a horde of orcs versus, like, 4 guards could be considered unguarded because it's very easy to attack them from any direction. And again, 4 guards versus a horde of orcs is an easy win, I would imagine.
Wait a minute, that sounds like Keely falling into a barrel.
I mean, don't you see the gigantic ears she's got? Elves are extremely good at hearing things. Heck, this one joke just from the Fellowship explains this very point.
Here's one dwarf she won't ensnare so easily. I have the eyes of a hawk and the ears of a fox.
Oh. The dwarf breathed so loud we could have shot him in the dark.
Also, the B team of orcs were really heavy on axes, weren't they? When we saw the battle start, most of them had swords, bows and arrows, maybe a mace, but axes didn't come into play until the dwarves needed them.
That's a lie, considering this orc that attacks Keely right here at the gate has an axe. The orcs had them this whole time. The dwarves were just lucky enough to pick the orcs that only had axes, considering later in the film they much prefer swords and axes, which are the only weapons they use against the orcs anyway.
everything this sequence is and stands for.
I don't know, man. This was still the biggest kid moment in the entire trilogy here. And this sin is still incredibly funny to me. So here are 15 sins for Jeremy and the other people out there who didn't laugh at this moment at least the first time through.
Movie wants to have a sense of danger in some moments, but in other moments do this
But, I mean, it's Legolas, man. He's known for doing crazy shit like this already. Let the audience have their fun.
Orc raises his you sword twice to kill Legolas so that Thorin can kill the orc.
Cause maybe, Jeremy, these moments were happening at the same time and giving you Thorin's perspective so you don't go, Thorin ain't mocking you.
So you're telling me that Toriel was running toward Legolas, saw this orc, and measured her shot so that she could deflect his arrow?
Yes.
Also, how convenient is it that she pulls off this badass shot instead of killing him, since Legolas wants to keep this orc alive anyway?
Cause in the very clip you were showing, before Toriel puts the blade in, her commander basically tells her to stop before she can make the finishing blow, so that they can get information out of him. Also, that shot surely would have killed Legolas, since she was still running towards them when she fired her arrow to stop the orcs. This is not convenient, is what I'm saying.
Discount Inigo Montoya.
Jeremy makes a Princess Bride pop culture reference that isn't the sin of the film cliche.
A shadow that grows in the dark.
How much of this movie's runtime is devoted to veiled references to Sauron? I'd wager it's at least 20 minutes.
Alright, bet.
Tell me where is Gandalf, for I much desire to speak. Tell me where is Gandalf, for I much desire to speak.
A Balrog of Morgoth.
What did you say?
A Balrog of Morgoth.
What did you say?
Alright, going through both the theatrical and extended editions of this film, Sauron is vaguely referenced a total of 2 minutes and 22 seconds. So because they lost this bit, guess how many sins we're giving them? That's right. Also, thank you, SteelHawk, for helping me out with this.
You were tracking a company of 13 dwarves.
No, 13. The Blackhead Archer. We stuck him with a Mordor shaft.
There is no f***ing reason why this orc would make mention of Keeley other than to distress Toria. But this orc doesn't know about that love story, so this is completely pointless.
And what is your point here? This orc is literally trying to distress Toriel so that he could get killed by her and not give the enemy any info. Literally taunting the good cop by telling them that someone got poisoned and have a certain amount of time to live is probably the fastest way to a beating or death in an interrogation in films.
There we are. All in order. Not so fast.
Yet another bullshit false conflict that bogs this movie down to a nearly 3-hour run length.
First of all, I think it's clear that CinemaSins clearly hates this film, seeing how the last couple of sins have them literally just saying how stupid this is. So much so that once again, they sinned yet another great tension scene and forgot the film is 2.5 hours. Because now with this scene, they feel like it's been 3. And we're not even halfway.
They're being led on by troublemakers.
Then we must find these troublemakers.
There was a huge pause in the conversation while the master got up, walked out of his bedroom, and halfway down the stairs before responding.
Yeah, and? What the heck was the point of this sin? Because I don't believe you if you really wanted to see the master get himself dressed and continue the conversation down the stairs. That's why there was a cut there, Jeremy.
Stephen Colbert 1, Tom Bombadil 0.
Jeremy makes a The Late Show pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the film cliche.
Human Rube Goldberg messaging system.
You gotta remember the Master of the Lake has spies all around Lake Town. So if you wanted to know information without the Master's knowledge, this is how you would do it.
Cute scene, but how the fuck did they know where to swim to get here? How did Bilbo and the dwarves jump into the water without being seen?
Alright, let's answer these questions backwards. First of all, Bard knows every inch of this town, so obviously he can find a really hidden spot in the town for the dwarves to jump into the lake without being seen. Secondly, Bard probably told the dwarves where to swim to before they jumped in, hence why Dwalin got so mad when he poked his head out.
Wait, does this family directly into the lake?
Yes.
King beneath the mountain shall come into his own.
Prophecies, man.
Yeah, well, in terms of this trilogy, the prophecy's dark turn does come into fruition in the next film anyway, and why Bard later in this film tries to warn the town to not aid the dwarves.
Also, Armory has a convenient open window so that people can steal from it.
Yeah, because who in their right fucking mind would want to steal weapons out of the city's armory? Outside of the company being disappointed in what Bard brought them, of course.
Arrow after arrow he shot, each one missing its mark.
These assholes make it sound like shooting a flying dragon is easy.
Jeremy, you're sinning characterization. The Master and Alfred are talking a big game here in front of the townsfolk, but in the next film, the Master tries to abandon the city with all of his riches when Smaug does show up. So, these two are bitches just like you, is what I'm saying.
I speak to the Master of the Men of the Lake. Will you see the prophecy fulfilled?
The prophecy that mentions the lake being set on fire? Sure, what the hell, right?
As I explained in Sin 239, that's the point of why Bard was so against the dwarves going to Erebor in the first place. But what I find more intriguing here is even though I have done only 2 Sins videos so far, Jeremy doesn't go back to correct his own mistakes, because otherwise Sin 65 would never have been made in the first place. So this sin is for either Jeremy or his writing team, and I cannot decide which.
This horn.
I know this isn't it exactly, but this horn is meant to be a Narsinga, which is indeed a horn with multiple curves to it. And I don't know, man, if you look at it the right way, it does look like a great sect.
No one will help us.
Why will no one help you? Everyone in this town loves dwarves now. What the
Oh yay, I get to use the extended edition for this one! When the dwarves go to the Master and Alfred for help when Keely's sickness gets worse, the Master thinks it might be contagious, and Alfred just tells them in the most douchebag way to fuck off. So yeah, nobody likes the dwarves now, because the Master deems it so.
The desolation of Smaug.
Roll credits, please.
I almost wanted to dock a sin off for this still being one of the funniest roll credit sins CinemaSins has ever done. However, not just the title of this film, but also a map laid out on those things you may somewhat read, but not really, is based on the location of the destroyed city of Dale, and the surrounding area near the mountain is called, wait for it, the Desolation of Smaug. So this was a really well done title work by the film.
The rabbit-drawn sleigh.
He is still mad about this, but I know what to do for this. Jeremy points out things on the screen cliche.
Up here!
You have keen eyes, Master Baggins.
What? Really? It takes keen eyes to spot a maze-patterned pillar that reaches up to the top of the mountain?
I mean, it still wasn't very obvious at first, considering it was below a dwarven statue carved into the mountain, and it doesn't look like a very easy stairwell to get you to the top.
We've lost the light. There's no more to be done.
Bull. We walked all this way and nearly died 1,000,000 times. Give me the key and I'll drag it along the rock until it hits a keyhole.
Alright, after all that bullshit at the beginning of the video, Jeremy is just as angry as I was, and for how funny this is, I will take a sin off for it. Because god damn it, this was funny.
How has this asshole been breathing underneath a mountain of gold the whole time?
As shown at the end of the unexpected journey, Smaug probably moves to different places in the pile to make himself more comfortable. You know, like how people move to different sides of the bed when it gets too warm. Also, loads of animals can hold their breath underwater for like an insane amount of time. Heck, the Kuvi's beaked whale can hold their breath for almost 200 minutes. Or in common people terms, 3 hours and 20 minutes. So yeah, to say the least, if Smaug can hold his breath this long under a pile of gold, This was a stupid question to ask.
The Arkenstone is conveniently 20 feet from where Bilbo is standing in a great underground kingdom the size of Minneapolis.
I don't know, JR, because the city you made out to be would make the possibility of Bilbo finding the Arkenstone even harder, considering Minneapolis is 11.2 times bigger than Erebor itself. Considering Erebor is only 12.25 kilometers squared compared to 148.94 kilometers squared.
Oh, come on. How did these assholes know Bard would be running through here? Lake Town is a twisty nightmare of directions, and they were hiding out here for whatever reason?
No, you come the hell on. Bard said it himself earlier in the film.
It's a small town, Alfred. Everyone knows where everyone lives.
So it might be far-fetched for you, but to them, they would know every nook and cranny of this town. Besides, Bard was being chased by guards anyway in that scene, so maybe it was the time for the Master and Alfred to do some dirty work to catch Bard, eh?
Holy shit, Gandalf's gonna need a lot of eagles to get out of this jam.
Look, I'm gonna have an aneurysm every time Jeremy suggests this shit, and therefore I'm going to start a new cliche from now on. Jeremy Eagles Ex Machina.
So it is true. The Black Arrow found its mark.
Bilbo seriously says out loud the one weakness the dragon has, and is out of this world fortunate the dragon didn't hear it properly.
Wait, so why is that a sin? Wouldn't you have removed a sin because of... Oh... Jeremy points out things on the screen cliche.
Again, the Arkenstone magically finds its way to an area right next to Bilbo.
Jeremy actually yells at the screen cliche.
So here's Boffer looking for Kingsfoil, which we remember him going out to get 20 minutes ago in movie time. And it's perfect timing because the orcs see him and know which house to attack. Here's the problem. When Boffer first started looking for this weed, Bard was still in his house. Since that time, Bard runs out, gets captured, the orcs arrive much later, and this asshole is just now finding Kingsfoil? And since Bard says,
"We feed it to the pigs,"
this should have taken like 5 minutes at most to find.
And here's my problem with this sin. It could just be the passage of time being different between scene to scene. But again, like I corrected you in Sin 254, if you're not from Lake Town like Jeremy, it would take you way longer to find pigs in the town. Especially since Bard didn't specifically state where the pigs are in the town, which would make finding them take way more time than 5 minutes.
Damn it, elves, do you ever arrive before an attack?
Before the Battle of Helm's Deep, moving on.
Also, if Toriel doesn't show up, how do they expect to use the Kingsfoil? It looks like it requires a lot of chanting and special elf leg rubbing and glowing.
Despite what the point of that scene was, it's because that scene where you mentioned Bard saying, "We feed it to the pigs," Oin requested Bard if he had any.
I need herbs, something to bring down this fever.
Nightshade, fever few.
They're no use to me. Do you have any Kingsfoil?
No, it's a weed. We feed it to the pigs.
So if Toriel doesn't show up, Oin would have been the one to give him the Kingsfoil.
Dragon that can smell dwarves even when they're outside the mountain can't smell them when they're right underneath them.
That's because the entire mountain smells like dwarf, you ass. You really expect me to smell shit when my own home smells of it? Is just cruel.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
Eon's old dragon is fooled by the old "hey, look over here" gag.
Oh, fuck, this one sin still makes me laugh. I can't deny how stupid Smaug is at that moment. Hey, you! Shut the fuck up!
It's almost like they wrote the script for the dwarves to escape and then designed the set to match. Jesus, it's like the world's most elaborate dragon escape system built centuries in advance of its being needed.
It's almost like Erebor was a mining mountain or something. It's almost like they had a movie to explain that, but again, I forget that Jeremy's in that movie, so again, I knew that he would forget that.
Oh no, I sure hope Legolas lives through this. Oh wait, he's in Fellowship. So this is a pointless bit of fluff.
That's what I was saying in Unexpected Journey, but once again...
Also, use your fire, dude. Or why not just cut the rope with your talons, make him fall to his death? Here's this trick I learned where I can balance a dwarf on my mouth. The only problem is it takes me a really long time to kill anything while I'm doing it.
Hey Jeremy, maybe Smaug is doing this thing because it's called, wait for it, playing with your prey or teasing. Something that clearly Mrs. Sins doesn't do in the bed anymore, huh?
Oh, sure. Now use your fire.
Jeremy yells at the screen cliche.
With no fire hot enough to set them ablaze.
Have we not?
I don't know if you do or not. Seems like Smaug only uses his fire when it's pointless, but I'm sure you'll find a way to make him use it for the plot.
Hey yo, what the fuck? No, Smaug, can I have him? Wait a minute. Who the fuck are you, considering I thought I was Smaug? No, you're Smaug the DM. I'm the real Smaug. Oh, right, real Smaug. Explain to me why this is a sin. That's because I used my fire when I'm really pissed off, or I think I have enough rage to get somebody, but it clearly fails on me. It's not pointless. Alright then, but can you please leave this video before this starts to get to be overkill? No, the narrator has pissed me off enough for far too long, and it's my turn to rage, bitch.
That's not how fire works.
Care to explain why that doesn't work? No? Then I won't explain it either, because my audience isn't stupid. Usually.
One furnace to light them all.
Jeremy makes a pop culture reference which shouldn't count towards this film set in the same series.
After years and years, everything still works in this place.
Yeah? Why the fuck wouldn't it work? Because I didn't touch this stupid shit this entire time until the fuckers taunted me to reboot their furnaces again. The fuckers.
Fire! Use your fire!
I'm teasing him, bitch. I don't think you understand. No. I got this one, Smaug. Jeremy yells at the screen cliche.
What the is this bull?
The dumbass plan turning me into a gold dragon. That's the type of bullshit revenge plan I was thrown in.
Wouldn't Smaug have breathed in a bunch of molten gold? That can't be good for the system.
You don't know that. Maybe dragons in the film series can tank molten gold in their system, especially because Smaug seemed very unaffected by it. Or it could be that Smaug held his breath in.
Revenge! I will show you revenge!
By taking it out on people who are not you.
Jeremy yells at, no, you would be pissed off too if people came into your home and tried to turn you into a gold statue too, you ass. Hey, look, I'm just saying that now you are agreeing with Jeremy here. What the heck is your point? That an example needs to be set. Besides, where is this son of a...
What have we done?
We interrupt this very short story's unnecessary second installment to bring you a cliffhanger ending and a year-long wait for the rest of the story. Oh, and also, you.
I agree. This was the biggest bullshit ending to this trilogy ever. I'm still pissed about that ending many years later. So, there you go, folks. I'm ending an everything wrong with video with the sin removal, which is something I didn't think I would say at all. Also, Smaug, get the fuck out of my house. At least not until battle, right? Oh yeah, feel free to join then.